Hey everyone, welcome to another hunt video. Today we're going to be fighting Qurupeco, so let's get on with this. And here Qurupeco is, so as you can see it's a very strange looking bird wyvern. Now Qurupeco has a very annoying function that you will see pretty soon, that I'm about to say anyway. Qurupeco can call other large monsters into the area to help you, to help the monster actually. And it can also buff those monsters when they come into the area with specific calls. Now, I'm not specifically sure which call is which. You can tell which one is which by the way that it moves, but I'm not actually sure which one is which, so you might have to look that up if you're wondering. But one of the other big things with Qurupeco is it does do explosion moves like that. It has like little bits of flint on its wings and it smashes them together to make a spark and then an explosion. But I would definitely recommend one thing to Qurupeco is definitely bring some dung bombs. Now, depending on the rank you're doing it, this is only a low rank one, so I'll supply dung bombs immediately. You do get supplied them in high rank as well, of course, but you have to wait for it to appear. But you do want dung bombs because once it calls in another monster, it can be quite annoying, obviously, because you have two large monsters in the one area. And depending on what rank you're doing it in, Qurupeco can call in Devil Joe, which obviously, as you know, is an incredibly annoying, tough, and just, yeah, generally annoying monster. And you don't really want to have to deal with a Qurupeco and a Devil Joe on the map at the same time. Now, Qurupeco is weakest against ice, so if you're wanting to use an element, bring some ice weapons and you'll be able to do some good damage. I always just bring raw, as you guys know. But Qurupeco causes fire blight and can do defense down. Now, the monsters that Qurupeco can call in, now it can be lower rank things like Great Jaggy, Rathian, Royal Luderoth, thank you, and Baroth and those sorts of monsters, but once you're in high rank, it can call in things like Diabolos, Devil Joe, and Rathalos, which obviously all of those are quite painful to deal with, especially once you already have another monster fighting you, so you've got two large monsters fighting you. So that's why I'm saying make sure to bring some dung bombs. You are going to need them. Now, apparently, if you disrupt Qurupeco while it's doing its buffs, the buffs can go to the player. Now, I don't think I've had that happen to me before, so I can't verify it. But it does do like, it can do like a healing cool, a stamina cool, all those sorts of things. And apparently, if you disrupt it in that time, it can go to the player. So while it's doing a cool, you probably want to try and do as much damage as possible, so then you can hopefully disrupt it and then get that buff, if that's how it works. As I said, I haven't had that happen personally. I'm just seeing, like, I've just read up on Qurupeco and saw that that was something that can happen. Qurupeco placed 86th in the 20th anniversary Hunters poll, which is quite high for a monster that hasn't actually been in Monster Hunter for a little while. As Qurupeco was actually left behind in the 3rd gen, he's only been in 3 Portable 3rd and 3 Ultimate. Obviously he's been in stories as well, but, you know, mainline series, it's only the 3rd generation. Now, I believe that call, yeah, so that's calling in a monster there. That was the call there. You could actually hear the roar of whatever it was. I recognize the roar, but I'm not sure. I can't remember what that is. So I guess we're going to find out soon enough. Okay, it called in a Nibblesnarf. I was kind of thinking it sounded like a Nibblesnarf, but I wasn't sure. I just saw it swim in over there. So I don't know when it's going to pop up just randomly, but it can call in Nibblesnarf apparently. There we go, there it is. So obviously, while you got two monsters on the map, it's quite difficult and annoying, so I'm immediately going to use a Dung Bomb to get rid of Nibblesnarf. Now, I'm not sure how quickly it'll take to take effect, but hopefully it'll be quite quickly. And in the meantime, while you've got two monsters on the same area, obviously you're going to have to be really careful. I have noticed that Qurupeco does change zones relatively quickly from my own experience, so you can wait it out. And Qurupeco will eventually change, but it's just better to bring dung bombs. Also, sorry, I just realized I missed some monsters that Qurupeco can call in, obviously evidenced by Nibblesnarf being in. I didn't say Nibblesnarf before, but he can actually call in Nibblesnarf, Arzuros, Volvidon, Sandbaroth, Duramboros, Zenoga, Bulldrome, and Tigrex as well. Now, some of those he can't do in 3 Ultimate. Some of them are just in Portable 3rd, but you got to watch out. When he's calling in a monster, it could be something very crazy. Obviously, Hunter rank will determine what it's going to be, because low rank will be lower rank monsters, high rank will be the crazier high rank monsters, of course. And in typical fashion, Qurupeco has changed zone to the area where Nibblesnarf is. When you fight Qurupeco, you'll realize he does that quite a lot. So when it comes to hit zones with Qurupeco, if you're using a cutting weapon like longsword, your best bet would be the head, the body, and the neck sack, the head being the best. Now, if you're using hammer, the best spot would be the head, and then the body and the neck sack again. But anyway, those are the best hit zones for impact. And if you're using range, your best bet would be to hit the neck sack and his head, and then body you know, the next best, but head and neck sack is the best. So basically all around, you're probably wanting to hit the head and like the neck sack type area is usually going to be your best bet. Now, one thing with Qurupeco that you might have seen earlier, because he did do it just before, when he's tired, he can't do the flint explosion. So when he hits them together and tries to blow it up, that won't happen. It will just be nothing. So when he's tired, take advantage of being able to do as much damage as possible to him as you can. And Qurupeco does have one subspecies in the mainline series, which is Crimson Qurupeco, which is pretty much an electricity version, which is like different coloration. There's not too much different about them. They both cool in stuff. And Crimson Qurupeco also has like a flash like Gypsyros does, so there's not like a massive difference between the two, but there is a little bit of a difference. Pretty much how most subspecies are. A bit of a difference, but nothing crazy. Now, with everything I've said, I would honestly say Qurupeco is generally a quite easy monster himself, but there is a big stipulation to that. The cooling in another monster is like really the main difficult part about Qurupeco. Because Qurupeco himself, his moves aren't crazy. He doesn't do insane damage. But the issue is he's constantly cooling in another monster, which obviously, especially depending on the type of monster, can be really difficult. And also these camera angles are abysmal right now. But other than cooling in monsters, Qurupeco himself generally isn't that bad, and you're probably not going to have too many issues. But if he's constantly cooling in things like Devil Joe or, you know, Diablos and all that, you're going to have issues. And as you would have just seen, I managed to break his head. So the areas that you can break on him is his head and both of his little flint and steels on the edge of his arm. See the bits that he's hitting together? You can break both of those as well as his head, which I just broke. So if you're needing some parts, make sure to target those areas. And there we go, Qurupeco's calling in Nibblesnarf again. So that's actually one really big thing. If you know the monster roars, you'll know what Qurupeco's calling in, because you can actually hear the roar in the call. Because you could hear Nibblesnarf's, like the call that Nibblesnarf does in that call. So if you're paying attention to the monsters you're fighting, you'll know what's going to be called in just from listening to Qurupeco's roar. Okay, it looks like we've got Qurupeco limping now, so that does show it's not too bad. This is obviously only a low rank one as well, so I do need to say, like, obviously a high rank one is going to be harder. But luckily, Nibblesnarf only just got into the area right now, so it's perfect time to leave. And also just to say, you can bring sonic bombs to interrupt his calls, so if you're wanting to do that, you can. It can be helpful. Oh, there we go, managed to kill him. But it can be helpful because that will obviously, let's say he's calling in a monster, you throw a sonic bomb, it will stop the call. But there we go, that shows Qurupeco isn't too bad. As long as you can deal with the monster that he keeps calling in, that's the main thing with Qurupeco that makes him incredibly frustrating and hard. The fact that he constantly calls in another monster to his side. But if you can deal with that, you can get him to change zones or make the other monster leave or something along those lines, you're probably not going to have too much of an issue. Now, obviously, he does have some moves which can be quite annoying itself, but generally, he's not horrible, I would say. He can be annoying, just not horrible, as long as you don't have the second monster coming in every 3 seconds. And there we go, guys. So that's going to be the end of this episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you'd like to join the channel as a member, you can. I'll show on screen now all the members we have. Thank you all very much, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode. See you guys then. Bye.